Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. I hope you're well. In this video, I want to take a couple of minutes to address a very common question, misconception, which surrounds the topic of evolution, right? Especially amongst the youth in colleges and universities, there seems to be this dilemma. How does Islam and evolution reconcile with each other? Can they be reconciled with each other? How do they fit in? So I want to take a couple of minutes in this video to address this particular point and clarify some of these misconceptions. So the first point I want to make is this. If, for the sake of argument, we were to accept the theory of evolution as it's proposed to us today in its entirety, it still does not negate the existence of God. The existence of God has nothing to do with the evolutionary process. It hasn't got a foot in the door. It's something that came way later on through history. It has nothing to do with the existence of God. So that's something we need to really understand and appreciate. Point number two is that we don't accept the theory of evolution as it stands today, as it's proposed in its entirety. Because from the Islamic perspective, from Islamic theology, it's very, very clear that Allah created Adam alayhi salam with his own hands. It's told to us in the Quran. So it's very explicit and there's no two ways about that. Let's put it that way. So what does this mean? So minus human beings, we can potentially accept the theory of evolution from the scientific perspective, taking into consideration that the scientific method is limited and it has a scope and it cannot really give us 100% truth. Nevertheless, it's a good method and it's one of the most reliable methods we have to knowledge, right? And as Muslims, we have no problem with the scientific method. This is just something I want to put in there because it was some of the Muslims that developed the scientific method, such as Ibn al-Haytham in the Middle Ages. Right? So taking this into consideration, we can accept the theory of evolution for other creatures and species and animals that may have evolved, as science tells us, minus human beings. This is the point that we need to understand. And it may very well be that the species and creatures evolved on Earth like the process tells us they did. But one thing we need to understand here is that this wasn't a blind process. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of all processes, also this process if it took place. This is something we need to understand, because sometimes what happens is you have some scientists that say, well, we know how something works, therefore we don't need God. But there's a problem here. They're conflating the how and why. Science can only tell you the how. It can never tell you the why. And this is something we need to again understand. So from the Islamic perspective, to sum up, I guess, is that minus human beings, the creation of human beings, it's very possible that all other animals, creatures, insects, any other species that may exist may have evolved through the evolutionary process as the scientific theory tells us. But human beings didn't, because Allah tells us in the Quran that He created Adam with His own hands. Now some of you may be asking, well, okay, but why do we take what the Quran says over science? Well, it's very simple. It's a topic in itself. We can address it in another video. But in a nutshell, the point is that the Quran we can deductively prove to be from God. We can deductively prove that the Quran is a miracle. And if we can prove this and we can show that it's from the divine, then what the Quran says, the knowledge it contains, is absolute truth because it's from the divine reality. Whereas the scientific method and what the scientific method gives us as knowledge is not 100% absolute truth, because it's based on things such as induction and empiricism, which are limited in themselves. So this is why when we do, if you like, what we call an epistemic weigh-in, which is the more sound source of knowledge, the Quran is the absolute truth. Therefore, it's the most sound source of knowledge that we have. Hence, we take this over the scientific method. And we know science, the theories of science have always evolved through history. Many things science concluded to be true and then later on changed this position. This happens. This is the nature of the scientific method. So hopefully, inshallah, this clarifies a particular point. It lays to rest some of the misconceptions that you may have had regarding Islam and evolution. And if you have any other questions, inshallah, please post them in the comments below and we'll try to address them the best we can. Jazakallah khair for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.